Hey guys, it's Conf Studios here. As I'm sure all of you saw, the brand new official animation for Great Adventures new for 2024 roller coaster, the Flash Vertical Velocity, just released, and I gotta say, I'm really glad that this is now finally out to the public. It looks absolutely spectacular. I'm really glad that we're able to get a great look at how the coaster is going to appear inside the park, and I've watched this trailer quite a few times now. I've watched it in slow motion as well, trying to pick up every little detail I can, and in this video I'm going to be going through the whole trailer at 0.25x speed to try and see every little detail that's hidden inside the trailer. I gotta say the park did a really good job at hiding certain aspects that we're not too sure about, like the queue. We don't know what the queue houses are going to look like, and I do want to preface right away that the animation never fully matches what the ride is actually going to look like. You can see right away that the arboretum and the two shops are not present in the animation, and I imagine the pathway is going to look a little different and certain aspects are going to be different when the ride is actually built. But this does give us a pretty good idea of what we can expect to see for the ride, so even knowing that, I am still going to go over every little detail, even if they may wind up not making their way into the final version of the ride. So we're going to start right away where we can first see how close it is to the entrance of the park. It is right behind the locker building, right outside the front entrance, and it's going to look really imposing as you're going into the park. When you look to the right, bam, there it is. Looks fantastic. We also get a great view of the station, which is very brief, but we're able to see kind of the general look of it. It has this really nice mix of red and yellow. I think it's going to look really, really nice. From there, we're able to see what the entrance portal looks like, and this entrance portal just looks fantastic. I love the way that they have the logo along with the sign and the posts for the sign. It looks really, really nice. This kind of reminds me of what we saw with Kid Flash Cosmic Coaster at Over Georgia and Fiesta Texas. Bit of a similar style there, and I imagine that the queue as a whole is going to look really, really nice for this ride. We're able to see very little bit of the queue during this shot, and in this bit you can see the double-sided lockers. They're very difficult to see, but they are there. So they're in the exact same spot that they were for the blueprints. I'm still curious about how they're actually going to be implemented, because I don't know if those lockers are going to have enough capacity for the entire queue, but the exit path does connect to them, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. In addition to that, we then get a look inside the station at the trains, and the trains have this amazing looking lighting package. You can see the Flash emblem on the front car lights up, and there's yellow streaks running down the whole train that appear to light up and flash. I think this is a really nice touch by the park. We were able to see Codaland's new Vekoma Coasters train a little while ago, and that also has the lighting, and a lot of people were wondering whether or not Flash would get that, and it looks like it is, which I think really does complete the look of this ride. This ride's going to look fantastic with all the yellow lightning bolts and streaks flying through the coaster's track at night. It's going to look spectacular, and I really can't wait to see it. In addition to these little details on the train, it does look like it is very difficult to tell, so don't take this as definite. It does look like these trains do not have seatbelts. I know this coaster's clone, Cloud Shuttle, over in China does feature seatbelts, so I wouldn't be surprised if seatbelts do wind up finding their way into Flash's trains, but in this animation it does not look like there are seatbelts. Again, very difficult to tell, but that is how it appears. Throughout this, we're also able to see another look at the double-sided lockers down there, which you can indeed see. The exit path connects right over to it. We're also able to get a look at the queue for this attraction, and you can of course see where the entrance portal is. It's pretty much right next to Cyborg, and that queue is going to run right alongside Cyborg's queue, where that fencing stands now. You're going to pretty much walk up right against it. So I'm curious how they're going to wind up doing that. I imagine they're probably going to swap out the fencing along Cyborg's back half of the queue to make it look a little nicer. Maybe they'll put a big barrier there or something along those lines. That way people don't switch between Flash's line and Cyborg's line, since they'll be pretty much right next to each other. And like I mentioned, you can see that the Arboretum and the shops, the Central City snacks, as well as the Flash store are not present in this animation, which does tend to be the case with a lot of these animations. They're not going to have every little detail inside, but just keep that in mind, they will be there. We're also able to get another great look at just how close this ride is to the entrance of the park. Really does back up very close to that locker area. I think it's going to look great. In addition to that, we're able to see where exactly the first airtime hill and that zero G roll are going to sit in proximity to the pathway. So that first airtime hill, the crest of it is pretty much directly over the pathway, and the zero G roll as a whole pretty much stays right over the pathway, which I think was a great choice from a design standpoint. as guests are walking to the coaster, they're going to look straight up and see the ride zooming through two of its best elements, which I think is a really, really cool choice. And of course, in addition to that, we're able to see how far out it stretches into the park. Of course, going to the park for opening weekend, we were able to see really how far out the footers come. We could see the fencing stick pretty far into Adventure Alley. And like I said earlier, I don't imagine that everything in this animation will be final, but it does look like they have that whole area walled off where the non-inverting dive loop is. And I imagine the fencing will probably be a little closer to the ride support structure once it's actually built, since that is a pretty major area of the park there. It's heavily trafficked, and I highly doubt they want to wall off so much of it, so it'll probably be a little closer. But we can see in this animation a pretty significant portion of it is walled off, and there's a lot of grass and greenery underneath the coaster there. From there, we're able to get a great look at how the new path is going to look. Like I said, this may not be final, but it looks like they are changing the layout of it a little bit. It's going to stay a little closer to the back of Main Street before it kind of cuts over a little suddenly underneath the coaster and then cuts back as you lead towards Metropolis and of course Flash's entrance and all of that. So I really think they wanted to position the pathway in such a way where when you start walking down that path, you're going to have a really imposing look at Flash with its giant tower and elements. I think it's going to be a really well presented attraction with the way they're making this path route around the attraction. I think it's going to look really, really nice. And in all of this, we're also able to notice that the parachutes are not in the skyline on the animation. You can see very clearly it is missing next to Green Lantern there. So I don't know if that's really a sign of what we can expect to see with the parachutes, if they will in fact be demolished. We really are just going to have to wait and see. This ride's been sitting in limbo for a couple of years now. We don't really know what exactly the park is going to do with it, so we're just going to have to wait and see. But in this animation, it is not present. In addition to that, we're able to see the giant Flash icon on the spike, and it looks like on both sides it has this light up aspect to it, which I think is going to look so cool at night. This is probably going to be one of the coolest looking rides at night in the park, which is great because the other two major attractions in Metropolis, being Wonder Woman and Cyborg, also have phenomenal lighting packages. This is going to have a really nice nighttime atmosphere in Metropolis with Flash being there with those lights. It's going to look so cool. In addition to this, we're able to get another look at the station where we can kind of see this like yellow grating texture on some of the metal there, and the rest of it is red, so definitely leaning into the red and yellow color scheme of Flash. And we're also able to get another look at the queue line of the coaster. Again, very minimal, but we don't really know what that whole backside of the queue is going to look like against the catering area. They were very keen to leave that out. But with all that being said, that is going to do it for my analysis here of Flash Vertical Velocity's whole new animation. We can see little bits of POVs, some off-ride shots, some fly-around shots. I just cannot wait to see this coaster constructed. Of course, as we know, track is on site, and we assume that supports are also on site. There's going to be a ton of progress on this coaster as we go through 2024, and if you want to see the most up-to-date construction updates of Flash Vertical Velocity, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos coming soon to Hollywood Studios. Goodbye, guys.